All right. So good morning, everyone. I'll just quickly introduce myself and the topic that we have taken up for today. I'm hoping to have a meaningful conversation and an insightful conversation with all of you, so that we are able to have some direction into. Because obviously, this sounds like a very clickbaity name, right? Listening can save lives. um, so, as clickbaity as it sounds, there's absolutely nothing sensational about it as well. Is the learning or the insights that we have gained. So I'm hoping that I will be able to share that with you guys, and hopefully maybe we can also have a interactive session where you can, through questions and through maybe a bit more depth search, we can go deeper. Okay, those who are not able to turn on the video, thank you for letting me know. I mean, but that's fine. But those who can, please do. Hi, Rashmi. Thank you for switching on your video. Okay, I'm reading your lips. You're from.
No, I'm having some issues with Zoom, so the
Ah,
audio video is giving me trouble. Good morning.
okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for still trying, sir. Hello, Sneha. Okay, so as I was supposed to introduce myself, so my name is Sachin Chitambran. I am a trainer, a life coach, suicide gatekeeper instructor who's been working in the space of suicide prevention for over 13 years now. My experience involves engaging with people at the ground level. I've spoken personally. I've spoken to over thousands of people going through various stages of suicide, and I've also trained thousands of people um, in providing emotional support to people going through or dealing with distress, despair, or even suicidal thoughts. So, what I'm hoping to bring is a gist or an essence of what it means to be a volunteer with a suicide prevention helpline, and what is the meta of our work, right? How does what does help mean from a suicide prevention perspective, and how does all of this uh, kind of tie into listening? Great. So, anyone wants to share any quick thoughts before we start, or any questions? I've given a very short introduction because I feel like I've seen most of the people who are here today in the past somewhere. So, don't want to waste too much of the time. Okay, so the topic is listening can save lives, right? So, let's break that down. And what does saving lives mean? So you have kind of got that we are talking about suicide prevention in a way. And when we talk about suicide prevention, I'm going to go with the understanding that you guys understand the nature of suicide, how it is pain and disconnection related. To maybe give a good start to it, I would like to just define suicide for those who are uninitiated. Uh, to define suicide, we see it as when the pain of living exceeds the fear of dying, right? It's a simple statement, but I believe there's a lot more depth to this. If you can just spend some time on it, maybe this is something you can reflect over as well. So when we are talking about when the pain of living exceeds the fear of dying, we are not talking about weakness or mental weakness, or the person couldn't take the pressure. We are not talking about uh, cowardliness, that they chose the easy way out. We are not talking about attention seeking. They did it to manipulate and get what they wanted. And we are also not talking about it to be a brave or a courageous thing either, because people tend to oscillate between these two spectrums, right? Either it is a cowardly act or it is a brave act. Tune kiya hai kya? Have you ever attempted suicide? Do you know how scary it is? So ideally, we have to find where's the true knowledge about this. So I hope the definition of suicide as to the pain, when the pain of living exceeds the fear of dying, will give us a direction to go. But where I want us to dive a bit deeper about saving lives is how these lives are lost, or how suicide presents itself. So maybe that's where I would like to quickly start. This is a bit theoretical, and but I hope we can open up the discussion after this. So when we are talking about causes or why a suicide would happen, this may give you an idea. Now, to understand why or the causes of suicide, I would like us to think of fire, right? So if you guys are aware, for a fire to happen, there are three things that are needed. Would anyone like to share what those three things are? For a
Yeah,
fire,
fuel,
fuel,
oxygen,
oxygen, and
and
heat.
spark.
Yes.
Yeah, heat, spark.
Spark, heat, ignition, whatever you want to call it. But if there is oxygen, if there is fuel, something to burn, and if there is heat, voila, you have fire. Similarly, for a suicide to happen, and this is a model actually presented. You may want to look up Schneidman, Edwin Schneidman. This gentleman is considered to be the father of suicidology. The one, so in as per Edwin Schneidman, when we look at the causes of suicide, he identified three such things, three such factors. And these three factors, according to him, are first, psych pain. And we'll just open up these parts as well. So there is psych pain. Second, there is perturbation. And third, there is pressure. Okay, just one moment. Sorry about that. So we were talking about the three P's. So you can even call them the three P's of suicide. And when we are considering the three P's of suicide, we have to compare it. The analogy that fits here would be that of fire. So just like for a fire to happen, three things are needed: oxygen, fuel, and chingari, flame or spark. Same way, you need psych pain or psych ache, you need perturbation, and you need pressure. Now, there may be mental health professionals here in the group as well. So let's try and break down. Let's hear your voice as well, right? What do you understand by psych pain or psych ache?
Emotional pain.
Emotional pain. Now, think about it, right? These are two lovely words. But what did we understand from this? What are we pointing at when I'm saying emotional pain? What are you pointing at? What do you mean by emotional pain?
Sachin, feeling as though you are a burden on people around you, feeling unloved.
Okay, right. Now, what you have described is a form of pain, where the person is experiencing uselessness or worthlessness. And that is the suffering they are experiencing, right? That I am worthless to my family. Oh, how bad am I? What's the point of me living? So, not necessarily there yet. When I'm talking about psych pain, essentially think of this as all your unprocessed trauma. I'm saying things with a very delightful.
Emotional baggage. Can we call it as emotional baggage?
Well, see, the point is the languages keep changing. I have absolutely no issue what you call it in terms, but I hope as long as the concept is clear.
So this is the mental perception of that person at that stage.
Now, in terms of, sorry, could you expand on that? What?
The mental perception of an individual at that particular stage, I would say, is which is causing the pain to the person is that's particular perception, I would say, mental perception.
Sure, everything is perception, right? At the end of the day, what we are talking about, I mean, there is nothing actually. Pain is not outside, right?
Yes.
Pain is a creation of your mind as well. That discomfort that you're experiencing is what we are calling pain here. So great, it is a psychological process. However, when we are referring to psych pain itself, try to understand that this is essentially any and all trauma, any all learnings any all dissonance that is causing this suffering for you. These are not processed, so this is areas of suffering for you. Over time, this builds up, right? So think of this as the fuel, almost, which is there, and it can build up, right? And the second component being perturbation. Has anyone heard this term before? What do you understand by that? Yes, Maliha. Or did you just unmute by mistake?
Suffocation or perturbation means,
Great, great, great. Who said that? Vidya.
yeah.
Great. Right? Now, when Vidya's mentioned suffocation, right? It's not necessarily the act of suffocation, but more the energy you experience when you're suffocating, if that makes sense. This is very nuanced. So I would like you to just think over what I'm saying here. If you were suffocating, aap chhatpataoge? Hai na? There is that mortal throes of death, almost what we are referring to here. But that energy, that is what we are referring to as perturbation. This kind of a that I'm extremely overwhelmed. However, this is in line. I mean, this is in addition to dissonance. Like we are not able to have decision making as well. There is cognitive dissonance.
Loss of control, can we say that?
Right. So how is this expressed? How this is visible in the person? Just how Neerja mentioned, but for psyche. Over here, it is expressed in the form of uselessness, worthlessness, hopelessness. I am stuck. I am no good. There is no way out. So this black and white thinking, right? What we are essentially seeing, instead of a spectrum of options available for me, I'm only seeing two. And this energy that I'm experiencing is making me have to decide. It's forcing me in a way to make that decision. Are you guys with me? Right? So perturbation, what we are experiencing is this almost this feeling of stuck, that there is no way out. So many a time suicide is also or suicidal ideation is also referred to as when every perceivable solution runs out. Suicide then becomes the improbable solution. Is that making sense? So it is not just the hopelessness, but the desperation that kind of comes with it as well, that the action needs to be taken, that I can't bear it anymore. So this kind of an energy, this is what we are referring to as perturbation. Right? And third, pressure. This is the chingari. This is the spark. What do you mean? This is the precipitating factor. Sorry, who is that?
The trigger also. Yeah.
The trigger. Yeah. So call it, whichever way. You can call it the trigger, call it chingari, call it spark, call it pressure, or call it the immediate cause or the visible cause many a times. So what do we mean here? Yes, Madhu? No, Madhu? Okay.
Sachin,
Yes,
pressure, what's the word?
Pressure is kind of experienced as a perturbation. This is the pressure, P-R-E-S-S-O-R, sorry, pressure.
Okay,
P-R-E-S-S-O-R.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm being lazy. I could have just easily written it down. Apologies. But I'll share some things with you on this. So, right. So what do we mean by pressure? Pressure is a precipitating factor. Does everyone understand what does that mean? Would anyone like to just share? What do you understand when I say precipitating factor?
It's factors that make your current situation like even worse, that kind of they add up and weigh down on you like baggage.
Right. But this acts like a spark. So already there is the baggage, as Vidya had mentioned earlier. So that's the psych pain territory. So imagine what we are talking about here is that you have a room or you have a place somewhere and you have filled up that room with petrol, or it is constantly getting filled up with petrol or a fuel of some kind, right? There is oxygen already available. Chingari kabhi na kabhi to pad hi sakti hai na? Right? For a spark to happen, you can have like 100+1 reasons for a spark. But what we experience is, do we blame the entire fire on the spark or the petrol or the oxygen?
It's that one last thing just before suicide, like the exam failure.
I hear you, right? So now what you're sharing examples of these sparks, right? It's this high intensity or high emotionally overwhelming events that a person can experience. This can be loss, for example. This can be shame, like loss of name, even honor, a failure in exam, breakup, losing someone you cared about or someone who was part of your support system. Displacement, for example, having to leave your home and move. War situations, environmental disasters, right? Anything that has a impact that is not your day-to-day average impact nahi hai. This is a concentrated impact that is happening, right? But what happens is, just for when we were talking about the fire example, when we're talking about these three things, would you blame one of those factors as the cause? Right? You have a room with petrol and a spark came in, someone switched on the light somewhere and there was a spark and the whole place burned down. Is the spark at fault, or the petrol, or the oxygen?
All three.
All three. All three. Great. All three. This is first and foremost we need to be able to see. Because in the same fashion, for a suicide to happen, all these three conditions need to be fulfilled.
Sachin, can I just take a moment here, please?
Yes, please.
There's a spiritual leader called Teal Swan who defines suicide as a reset button or a safety net. So when you say oxygen, you're talking about the social and the cultural environment. Is that what you mean by oxygen?
No. Oxygen over here, I was just referring it to perturbation. I'm just trying to give you some something to help you remember the three parts. That's it. So don't get too carried away with the analogy of that. However, this it's almost like a deprivation of oxygen that the person is experiencing at the perturbation part, right? And the spark is the precipitating factor. Whatever is the trigger event that happened just before the attempt or just before the person's decision to die. All right. Now, unfortunately, whenever we look at suicide in our general society, we tend to put the entire blame of suicide on that one factor. Would you agree, disagree? Any thoughts on this? Happy to have a discussion as well. I know I'm making statements here, right? So please feel free to challenge them. So what did I just say?
That the society often focuses on that one last part that caused the suicide.
Right. Because I'm very sure, like, if I had engaged in that conversation, right? Oh, is suicide cowardliness? Is suicide weakness? And all of that, there would still have been some hands that would have come up today as well. But I'm just kind of going up, kind of flying over that. If you need any training on suicide prevention, we can have it separately. This is very focused. Right. So society essentially considers, right? Why did this person die? Because exam mein fail ho gaya. या बॉस ने नौकरी से निकाल दिया, या उसकी चोरी पकड़ी गई, या उसका ब्रेकअप हो गया, या उसकी गर्लफ्रेंड खराब है, या तो डायरेक्टर खराब है, या you have heard all of these things plus one. But is it? No. What we fail. Sorry,
just actually.
Right. What you have only. Yes, yeah.
Whatever the society has been pointing at that one particular time is the spark. Actually.
Yes. Right, because that is the only thing that is visible. Right? For an outsider, because think about how funny this is, right? How many of you can claim that if I'm just gonna just generalize and assume that all of you have partners, okay? Just be happy those who don't have. But okay, so you have a partner. Would you say that your partner knows you 100%? They know you in and out? They know, or should I'll make this more specific. Do they know every bit of your pain?
No.
Every version of it, the depth of it, the different types of it, right? No. Right? Your partner doesn't know you. So in the same way, can we ask this question? Do you know your partner?
No.
Great. Right? तो घर पे क्या हो रहा है हमें नहीं पता है, बट सुशांत सिंह राजपूत क्यों मरा है हमें पता है सबको. This is what we are trying to avoid here. this linear understanding of cause and effect, like when we are talking about suicide, that it happened because ye hua. And it is because of this linear take that we have on suicide that we fail to offer the compassion that we need to for people. See, if I see suicide as a linear event like this, yes, I will find it weird that you attempted suicide when you had a breakup, because I had 3 of them and I never wanted to. I was also binging on Arijit Singh, but I didn't feel like killing myself. So bro, you're weak. See, because I need to make sense of it. I need to understand, why is this person, when they are having a breakup, is having thoughts of killing themselves, right? But unfortunately, we get distracted by the event and completely fail to see the petrol and the oxygen, right? Which are quite important. So any and every trauma that you have not processed, right? We are currently as part of whatever the latest survey was, around 30% of our population is we are talking about India here. Almost 30% of the population needs psychiatric help. They have comorbidity and it's psychiatric illness. It cannot be considered distressed. That's a very high number. And guess what it is reflected in? This number is so well reflected, unfortunately, and when I'm saying it with a smile again, is reflected in our suicide statistics. When we are the suicide capital of the world, for 170,000 people to die, which is the latest number from 2022, right? 170,000 people, Indians, died in India from suicide, which consisted of around 12 to 13,000 children, that is below 18 years of age. Over 100 children who were below 12 years of age. We have deaths across each age bracket as well. So we have people dying post 60, people dying in their middle age. We have people dying across the board. So are we saying that everyone is weak? Right? With the 12-year-old who doesn't even understand the concept of life, right? And I'm not trying to be condescending here. Like as a psychological process, we understand that for me to identify that I exist, there is life in this, there is a disconnection needed from a primary caregiver, right? So I am alive ka concept tends to happen around 7 to 9 years of age, that I exist. But then we have children dying as young as 5.5. So riddle me this. How does a person who doesn't even understand what is death kill themselves? Is it too heavy?
No.
Not heavy, actually. This
Hmm.
is pointing to a situation where the
Mhm.
child is not actually not even mature in
Mhm.
understanding of anything.
Mhm.
Could be
So again, we are not using maturity in terms of they're not stupid. The point is that evolution, that it has not happened yet, right? But then the point of suicide will still remain. This is why I had given you guys the definition as well. Right. What was it? Would anyone like to repeat? Suicide is when
the pain of living exceeds the fear of dying.
right?
Yeah.
In Hindi, it would be like जब जीने का दर्द मौत के खौफ से बढ़ जाता है. Right? Fear of death is something that is evolutionarily present in all of us. We can see it, notice in a newborn baby, just do boo, like loud sound. The child would like shiver. You have noticed? Anyone been sadistic enough to do that to a baby? Or just saw it on the side? Okay, great. So you understand that fear of death is like the primary fear that fear represents itself as in us, and this is kind of present in all of us. There are like maybe 1 or 2 people in about 1 million who do not have this, and it's surprising. You will note that most of them do not even survive 15 years of age. Why? Because it is fear that keeps you alive. Right? The statement as well, you guys can digest, right? Fear keeps you alive.
Yeah, survival instincts.
Survival instinct. So, for example, if I do not have fear, if I'm playing on my terrace, the ball falls down, I'll jump behind it to catch the ball. It is fear that stops me from doing that, not our intellect. It's this fear as an emotion that stops. Anyways, so why am I talking about this? Because when this pain that we are referring to here has already reached a point which is invisible to most of us, there is existing perturbation, which is a sign of usually mental health issue. There was study done where they were trying to find the correlation of mental health issues and suicidality. It was observed that amongst those who died by suicide, they found over 60% of them showed signs. Ayyo, Sakina ji, mute. Huh. What we see is almost over 60% of people showed signs of mental health issues. This is post-mortem. The study was done in that way. Please feel free to Google. Right? So what are we saying? There is a connection with mental health issue as well, which is presented mainly in perturbation. There is pain, psychological pain, and then there is a precipitating event. If we need to actually help someone who is going through suicidal ideation, we have to be able to factor in all these three components. Unfortunately, what happens is our entire attention tends to focus on the precipitating event. And this is where I would also like to bring in some thoughts from you guys as to what other challenges do you think can come in when you are trying to help someone dealing with suicidal ideation. I'm not defining help yet. We will be defining that, and that's where we will connect it with listening. But right now, think about it. Imagine if all of you were working for a helpline. You are a helpline employee. And someone has called you and they are having thoughts of dying. They're severely perturbed, so they are almost talking about, so this is beyond the planning state. The person is about to do something and they have called you. What would you consider to be help? What do you think will help the person?
First, distance themselves from the means is the first step.
Okay, so you are great. So this is the standard policy, right? If the person has anything hazardous to them, we check with them. If they are able to move, keep it away. If they are over a ledge or something, we ask them if they are able to step away from the ledge, at least for the duration of the conversation.
Yes.
Right? But great, this is more procedurally suicide prevention helpline. I'm looking for a bit more amateur response.
Then we'll ask them to talk, actually. We are here to listen. Can you speak to us?
Great. Now, you are talking about still the process, Vidya.
Okay, okay.
Tell me, think about what is it that is help?
Compassion.
Okay. How do you see that as help? What do you mean by that? And think about it. How will that be reflected in that conversation? If you are talking to someone over the phone, you can't even see them. You don't even know their name. The only thing that you are aware of right now is that this person has suicidal thoughts and that they are quite extreme right now.
Somehow assure them that you are there with them, because
okay. What you're doing is sharing your availability.
Yes.
Great. Empathy. Okay, that's a Pandora's box. But what are we meaning when we say empathy? Is it the shoe thing?
Trying to understand the pain they feel. Trying
to understand the pain. What is sympathy then?
Sympathy is feeling sorry for someone. Or
Sympathy,
pity
is feeling sorry for someone, and empathy is understanding
the pain, like understanding their perspective.
So if you don't understand the pain of the person, would you feel sorry for the person?
No. I think empathy, I mean, it has to be the first thing that comes up, right?
I don't know. Because we haven't defined empathy yet. I will not, I mean, that's a freaking 3-hour lecture. But we'll try to kind of, I'll try to get this quickly.
Sir.
But yes, Vidya. Were you saying something, Vidya?
No.
No. Okay. So when we are talking about here is there is the understanding of the pain, which if you actually just break down the words and see understanding pain, what does that mean? What do you mean when you say you are understanding someone's pain? Is it like
relating to
the
it or
vessel has
connecting?
become hot and you touched it so you could feel the temperature, so now you know how hot it is? Is that something like what is happening when you say understanding the pain? How are you experiencing it? What do you mean by this term? Because
Sachin,
this is English.
so-
Yes,
sorry.
Neha.
Started with this, that in that immediate situation, what will be the help? That's how we started. So I think understanding everything is like needs time. You're right, but and that particular time, how would we help that person to distract from that particular situation somehow? Diffuse one of the trigger
Great.
or
Now, do you see, you have mentioned a lot of processes, but I didn't understand what that means. And again, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude here. What I mean to say is, I don't know what am I doing
yeah.
when you say that I am distracting this person. What am I saying? Oh, de kabutar. Because
Yeah.
that is also distraction, right?
Right. No. I mean to say somehow
Huh?
that understanding everything. So in immediate situation is somehow diffuse that particular.
Okay, that is the need of the situation, right? That is our moment of truth.
Yeah.
You have literally just defined the problem statement. Sachin, someone is called. They
Yeah.
made a
Okay. Mm.
Now, I have to help this person. What do you think will be help here?
So immediate will be let's
Oh,
just talk.
Huh? Talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
some
Wait. Okay. So, right. One person at a time. Maliha,
Yeah.
why don't you start? Naveed, and I'll come to you after this.
Okay.
I think they had raised their hand and then put. Yeah, Maliha.
yeah, so what comes to my mind as help is firstly, we have to listen to them actively and
How is that help? Sachin,
because
isn't that your shop? Why are you asking? No, but I still haven't understood what you mean by when I am listening to this person.
yes,
Then that is help. How is that help?
be it the whole transfer market,
because
be it, I mean, you guys studied about transfer market yesterday itself. So now what ends up happening is that
Oops. Falgunan, did I mute you by mistake? Please do check.
Encourage the person to talk actually.
Wait. Let's not deviate from what is being said before here as well, right?
Okay.
yeah,
Right?
so when I say that listening to that person, maybe that person is not heard enough or not heard enough through a non-judgmental lens. So
Okay.
providing non-judgmental ear to
Hmm.
them,
Hmm.
maybe help them to,
What do you mean by
actually.
a non-judgmental ear? Do you see we are now just introducing concept after concept? Because I literally what I'm simply asking you is tell me what do I need to do? What do I do here? Now, when you say
Just be there for that
I
person.
am here for you.
so, this is a statement, and you guys are all pissed off with sympathy because Sachin sympathy is only telling lip service. Then I am here for you. What does that mean?
Means I'm going to be non-judgmental because if the person has picked the phone and called,
Hmm.
which also is a sign that yes, there is that scope of help that they are looking for.
Hmm.
If not, they would just do it. Why would they pick the
People
phone and
who
call?
call suicide helplines will call only when if they need help. Otherwise, so
If
they want to
have a
live.
fraction of hope that
So this is the interesting bit, right? This is where we introduce statistic. I'm glad you mentioned it as fraction. People normally tend to say like even if there is 1% hope, because we tend to quantify these things, right? Apparently, hope can be आप मुझे कोई पाव किलो दे दो, बचा देंगे हम. Because this is what we are talking about. We are saying कि give that person some hope and the person, but give me some hope. can you give hope to someone?
Can just be there.
So again, do you see how we are kind of shutting our doors here? Right? Right. Let's bring in Zona as well. Yeah, Zona.
I think be there is also one of the things which helps, and listening and
Sorry, I couldn't get the first bit. Could you repeat?
I think everybody is right when they say be there and be
But where
active
else will you be there? You have
the-
picked up the phone now. You will be there.
Yes,
So that
will
is
be
an
there.
established situation. You are there.
Be empathize, and by saying empathy, we are connecting with them by their own perspective.
What does
Like-
connecting with a human being mean? I'm just going to keep on asking such questions, guys. So, and I'm sorry if it becomes irritating, but if you don't have an answer to this, then we are just using words here. What does connecting mean? Is there a USB cable? Like, because connection means
No,
मेरा
no,
phone को अगर मैंने laptop से connect किया है, I get to see a cable, or I know that there is a Bluetooth and I can start it here, I can start it there, and then I press connect, then I pair, and all of that jazz happens. So there is a way, there is a connection, there is some tangibility to this term. Now, when
relate
I'm
to
saying
their,
human,
relate to their problems, like
relate to
see
their
things,
problems. Now, okay, think about this.
see things by their own perspective. Like if
Wait,
someone's
one at a
suicidal,
time, one at a time, right? Relate to their problems. I am calling you guys and I'm saying my father died.
okay. Now you say it's not like when you are empathize with someone, you think about their perspective and put yourself in their shoes.
I will kill my
Okay.
father, right? Because then I will know exactly what this
No, no,
person
no.
is.
Like you feel their feelings, huh?
How will you
don't
feel their
like,
feelings?
okay, my father is also died, so it's really okay thing for me. So you will be move on. Like, no, not like that. Okay, I feel your pain. I'm
What do
here
you
with
feel?
you.
No, do you see? This is the part, right? Zona, this is the confusing part. You are saying I feel the pain. And I'm asking you, what do you mean by that?
You're understanding their situation, I
My
think.
father died. Why are you feeling pain, Baba?
Because I empathize with you.
Now think
Okay.
about this, right?
Sir, I think like if I think from the social psychology perspective,
Mhm.
then this is also a reason like we are different human beings and we see things through a different lens. So maybe I would not be accurately able to, feel the pain a person is feeling, but I will try to explore the reason why they think that this is the only step, or this they feel like
Can we
taking
have a
this.
call? Let's have a right. Let's just have a small role play call. Now, this is not at all meant to embarrass anyone or anything. I will request those who are suicide prevention volunteers, please do not volunteer here. You are doing already all the volunteering work in your center. But if anyone who does not have a suicide prevention background, would you guys like to just come in? Yeah, trust me. Great. So, first off, it takes a lot of guts to sit on the hot seat. So first off, can everyone just give a small applause for Rashmi for volunteering and not making me lose my throat by requesting all introverts. Right. So Rashmi, what are we going to do? There's a simple call. Sam, can you do the ring ring? There's going to be 3 rings. I'm sure you may have, if you have seen this exercise somewhere.
No,
There will be 3 rings. And you're just going to answer like, hey, or, how can I help you? Or can I help you? Something like that. And we're just going to have a conversation. And you have to try and help me based on all the things that we were talking about today. What? We are going to connect. We are going to feel the pain. What else? Right? Why, we'll try to understand why the person is thinking about suicide, why not the other way around, and all these things, right? So are we ready? And if anyone feels like they may want to join in at some point, just raise your hand and then keep an eye on the chat. I will write your name if you have volunteered and I'll just bring you into the conversation. Okay. So Rashmi, feel free to switch off your video so we can, this can be a purely audio based experience and people may pay more attention to the inflections of the voice. Right. Whenever you're ready, Rashmi, let us know. Maybe a couple of deep breaths may be helpful.
Yeah, from the point of raising my hand till now, there is some anxiety that I can feel a little bit. So
So
yeah.
just take a couple of minutes and just try and settle yourself if that helps. But there will be some level of anxiety. There are like about what, over 30 people there. So some of it will be obvious.
Yeah.
But thank you again. Let us know when you're ready. And everyone else, can I request you guys to try and focus on it from a don't get engaged with the story. If possible, do not get engaged with the story and try to see it from the perspective of what are the steps being taken to help this person with that point of view. Is that making sense? So you're looking at it from the listener's perspective, the one I'm calling. So I'm the caller and we have Rashmi as a listener, and we're going to look at the different ways they are trying to help. Awesome. Whenever you're ready, Rashmi.
I am.
Thank you, Sam.
Tring, 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 tring.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've just called you because you're a suicide prevention helpline. I'm really pissed off right now. I'm just seeing red. I'm absolutely seeing red right now.
I hear you.
Hmm.
Can you tell me a little more?
It's I'm really scared. I'm just on my way to my house and I'm just sitting in a community garden there. So the basic gist of it is I was in a relationship and we were supposed to get married. This was I had proposed to her. I had shown my interest. Now the thing is, this is embarrassing.
That's okay. I hear you. Please tell me.
So I am a virgin. And this is the thing, right? I had expected that my partner is going to be a virgin as well. And I had spoken about this with her. Like when we started our relationship, I had specifically had this conversation, and she had told me that she has never had any physical relationship or anything like that, and she had swore about it. But guess what happened, right? Today I was actually giving the marriage cards I had gone to a friend's place to give it, and lo and behold, the friend's brother saw the marriage card and recognized her name. And he's like, "Is it this person?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh," and he told me how she had this guy who she was dating before me, like about 2 years before me, and that they were quite serious, and that they definitely were physical as well. And I mean, can you imagine how messed up that is? I just literally called her up and I told her like this is off. But the problem is I've called it off, but the problem is I don't know how to face my father. He is a big guy in where we live. Like people know him. I mean, so this love marriage thing, it was after, like, my father, I do not even talk to my father, like looking into his eyes. He's the absolute terror. But for her, I had like quite literally promised him my life, like this is her, this is my life, this is who I want to spend the rest of my life with. And in spite of he being such a big personality where we are, he said yes to the marriage. But now I'm breaking this marriage up, and I don't know what he will do. I just don't know what he will do. When I don't know how to tell him, and feel like he will kill me, and I might as well just kill myself. Then, I mean, anyways, there's no point in living anymore. The person I cared for the most has cheated on me. So I just don't know what to do.
I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any more thoughts right now that you would like to
I'm
share?
I'm literally sitting in the community garden on the edge of the well, and I just feel like I'm paralyzed and I can't move. It's just I cannot face my father. I just don't know what to do.
You said you're sitting on the edge of the well.
Yeah.
Okay. So while we are talking, is it okay for you to slightly move away, go sit in a place which is...
What's the point? There's no point. I mean, I can't move right now. Can you just tell me what can I do?
I get that. I understand. And so the first thing that we can do right now, I know probably you don't have the energy for it, but can you just try that and get off the edge of the well?
No, I can't move, ma'am. I can't move. I think I should just get it over with.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm stuck here. If someone wants to help.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. I can I mean,
Sorry,
sorry.
Chandni, could you speak up?
Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes. It's still okay. Carry on, please.
Yeah, this seems like a very, very difficult time for you.
I mean, I can't believe that she did this to me. How could she do this to me? How can you play with someone's feelings like this? She cheated me. I mean, and for what now? And like my father, he will not understand this. He is not. I mean, we have given marriage cards to like half the city, and like I can't see. I don't see him going back and you know, taking those cards back. I mean, he's going to kill me. This is just too shameful.
There's a lot going on right now, right?
I can't take it anymore.
It's like a lot of things to look at, a lot of things to, so much confusion.
I just don't know what to do. Can you tell me?
For now, I can only kind of imagine what kind of pain and confusion you're going through.
Have you ever had your the person you loved cheat on you?
Right now, I'm not in a position to remember any of that.
So obviously not, right? Because I'm sure you never felt it so strongly that you wanted to kill yourself. Did your father cause terror? Does he have murder cases lodged against him?
All this tells me that you're really, really scared right now.
I'm shaking. I can't move. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
All right. Ajo.
Okay.
All right. Thoughts, guys. You guys heard the conversation, right? So this is just a scenario I've just picked out of the air. So please do not think too much over the scenario now. But yeah, thoughts. You guys talked about help, what help will be for this person. Tell me, what did you see? Did you see distraction? Do you think distraction would have helped? And if so, how would you have done that? What do you think could have done? What could you possibly do to distract a human being from a pain that is so high that it has overcome the fear of dying? It is so high that they're not able to move, but we can just tell them, hey, calm down. And then apparently it's like, oh, why didn't I think of that, right? Or we can just distract them, tell them about how world is facing such bigger, graver problems, or let them know how we have faced a similar situation, and you know what, you will come through it. Time heals everything. There is sunrise after every period of darkness. How many of us have been thinking of this as help? Do you see what I'm trying to refer to here? Because these are the things that you are talking about when we are saying about distraction, about giving hope. And then in the same vein, we also talk about toxic positivity. Right? The same thing. Imagine, right? Rashmi, you're raising your hand, but I'll use you itself for the example, right? Imagine on a scale of, like, have you ever sprained your ankle or broken a bone? No? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. But imagine if you had a broken bone. You have seen people with broken bones, right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is unbearable, cannot bear as a pain, and 1 is like, bring it on, right? So on that scale, what do you think a broken bone would feel like on that pain scale?
I think it would be a 9 or a 10. Like, I've seen
Right.
people really wriggling in pain.
Right. Do you see how you are able to sense this pain? Because it's visible. What we are referring to here is psychological pain. For some reason, we apparently believe that psychological pain isn't real. This is why I also defined it using unprocessed trauma. Is that making sense? And in fact, research has shown that psychic or psychological pain is the single biggest factor that has like correlation to suicide as well. So even though the definition was very poetic, it is grounded in science as well. Right? So to give you a simple idea, let's go back to that definition. When the pain of living exceeds the fear of dying. What we are essentially talking about here is this seesaw. If you're able to imagine a seesaw. Can you imagine this? And now imagine on one scale you have pain. And on the other scale you have fear. The fear of death tends to be that constant fear of death, right? That's just the fear of death. I will stop myself. There's almost a bodily reaction from me that even if I have decided on suicide and I jump, and my body will try to protect myself, try to save myself. So fear of death. But we are talking about another concept, that pain is so high that this has gone up. Now tell me, to save this person, what is the simplest thing we need to do? Or looking at this seesaw, what do you think would be an ideal situation here?
Reduce the pain.
Right? This pain, which is unbearable for this person, if there is an alleviation or reduction in this psychological pain that they're experiencing. When there is a release or an alleviation in this psychological pain, guess what? This release means that the fear quotient is still there. If this pain goes below this, guess what you need to do to save the life of the person? Absolutely nothing. It's the person's fear itself that doesn't let them die. when I'm using this fear, this is not that ha darpok wala fear. No, I'm using it like as an emotion, as an evolutionary part of you, as a core part of you, right? This fear itself doesn't let you die. In fact, suicidality is considered to be a phenomenon of ambiguity. There is a high level of ambivalence that exists with suicide prevention, and this has been statistically proven as well. And I'll just share that example quickly. You guys have heard of the Golden Gate Bridge, right? So Golden Gate Bridge is also a suicide hotspot. Please look it up, what that means. So as a hotspot, there are the number of suicides that occur through that place is very high, right? Now, what they have started now is the Coast Guard patrolling and everything like that. So the situation is that the depth and the temperature of the water and everything is so bad that majority of the people who attempt suicide there, they do die. However, there are still some people who were managed to be saved. And what happened? They did a survey with them, the ones who got saved. Upon the survey, when the survey was conducted, they found out that over 60% of the survivors, they declared that the moment they stepped off that ledge, they had changed their mind. Are you understanding what I'm saying here? So the moment they stepped off the ledge, there was a change in their decision, but now they couldn't do anything to help themselves. Is it making sense? So this ambivalence, why am I sharing this example? This is to show that ambivalence exists even in the last second of a suicide attempt, right? Ambivalence exists even in the last second. In spite of all the high perturbation energy and all of that, there is still a scope for ambivalence. It is this ambivalence that saves lives. It is this that creates that moment for us to help and do something in the that works towards the alleviation of that pain, so that the person's own resources can kick in. And over here, we are referring to that fear as a resource as well. That it can kick in, and that stops the person from attempting suicide. Have we kind of rationally, like, is everyone rationally satisfied as to what is the meta behind how you can save a life? Right? It is the reduction in the psychological pain. Now, how do you reduce it? This is what we need to be calling as help. Right? And in this, now, normal methods that you tend to use when someone is stressed, like distraction, like going out running, or calm down, take some deep breaths, or try to meditate, or all the options that you're referring to here. Please understand that that's fine for some manageable level of pain, where this person is not completely helpless due to that pain. Are you understanding? That is why that difference of someone, if you had your hand broken, or if you just had a small cut on your finger, right? The response will be different. Can I come and talk to a person with a broken hand like, bhaiya, thoda sa saans le lo pehle, or calm down. You don't need to scream. I will not be able to help you if you are screaming. Does logic work? No. Logic doesn't work. So this is the first thing. Giving a solution doesn't work. I'll repeat, giving a solution doesn't work. In fact, it is counterproductive.
Yeah.
I've made a statement here. Would anyone like to expand or challenge, or please let's engage with that?
I just want to
Yes,
share what came to my mind when you said this is probably I was not giving those solutions because last year I lost my father. And the way people try to empathize or sympathize or whatever words they want to use, and it would always really make me so angry because it was like, I know death is inevitable. I know death is happening around all of us. I know people have dealt with it, or they say that we understand, but things like this, you have to move on. This happens, or a comment from a friend who shared a long post telling me that one of my friends lost her husband just yesterday, and today she's in his office and she's working. It's like, what
Look
are
at
you?
what an inspiration she is. Why don't you look at that person and get the inspiration to
Exactly.
do it?
And
Right?
it just pissed me off so much. I just wanted to cut off, shut my phone off, and
Right.
tell people just get lost, because
Right.
right now I am dealing with my pain. Just leave me with it.
Yeah.
And there is no
But
time
how did you
frame.
respond, Rashmi? See, the nice person in you would have
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll try to do that.
Can I be very honest? No. I
Okay.
just sent a message, FO, and please don't message me till I'm ready to talk to you, because this is not helping. And I'm saying this, I wouldn't have messaged anybody else, but because you're my friend and you're important to me, I'm asking you, please give me space. I need to breathe right now, is what I responded, actually.
Yeah. But if that friend is a savior friend, guess what they will do? Like, no, you can't be alone.
Yeah, I know.
You need to cry as well. Someone may come and slap you as well.
Yeah. And I had people
तुझे रोना
around me.
चाहिए.
And people.
Because I know what works.
और जब आप रोते हो तो it's like अब बस हो गया, कितना ही रोएगी. मतलब anything you do, there is a judgment on it.
Right.
Oh, I lost my mom. I was okay in 6 months.
Right. So tell me that whose pain did they understand when they were understanding your pain? They made an attempt to understand your pain, didn't they? They were trying to show you an example as well of how well they understood your pain. They were able to relate to another friend whose someone died.
So they did not understand my pain. They were trying to give me
One
those
second, just hold
coping.
it. Just hold it. They did not understand your pain.
No.
Now, do you see? Cognitively, they did.
Yeah.
They are referring to death.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about understanding here, this is not a cognitive thing we are talking about. It is not about understanding that perspective we are talking about at all.
Yeah. And the worst thing was like, oh, he went so peacefully. You should be grateful to God. I was like, really?
There is always a silver lining. Don't you know that, Rashmi?
Yeah, even in somebody dying. So
right? You need to keep your glass half full. It's all about perspective. Why don't I give you another perspective? Right? These are all the different ways. Do you see how you are trying to help? And like whoever it resonated with, please feel free to chip in as well. How many times do we try to give the person the other perspective? How many of you were tempted to tell me, bro, but like, why did you have to break up? Like, we are in the 21st century. People have sex. Did you even talk to her? How many of you feel a grave sense of injustice towards the partner? And how many of you wanted me to understand that there is still a way out? Don't cancel the marriage. How many of you wanted to say that? Because you noticed a teaching moment there.
Yeah, like he felt really betrayed, right? So I mean, I did feel like,
now
okay,
tell me this.
to talk about it, but that's not helpful.
Yeah. Now think about this. In that conversation, did that feeling ever come up as a feeling? You all sensed the betrayal. Thank you for that. You didn't want to shoot me down for hurting someone. So thank you for that. However, when we are referring to this person, there is betrayal, but did that betrayal get space? Is my question.
No, it was like that didn't get acknowledged at all.
Yeah, such a betrayal, like that's the icky feeling, right? Why do we need to go there? The point of helping is to make the person feel better, yes or no?
Yes.
This is why we get lost. This is why we get confused with help, understanding what is help. Because help always means that the present state say there is a better state available that can be achieved. If only the person takes these 2-3 steps. And if I can just somehow make them walk those steps, it will be success. But then if we try and give the person solution, you're like, this happened with my friend as well. The person responds like, it's got nothing to do with me. Arey, but it is, Ray. It is all about positive thought, Ray. I can't think positive. Arey, try to. try to करके देखने का ना, ऐसा कैसे? You're such a man, right? These things. What you're trying to do is don't look at that betrayal. Don't look at that painful stuff, bro. Look away. Tell me, when you had gone through a breakup yourself, and just like Rashmi was very kind enough to share such a personal experience, think about a simple experience like a breakup, like a lot of you may have gone through. And if some of you were lucky enough to have multiple breakups, then there you have something to compare with as well. So let's try to address this. Neerja, support me in this. So if you had multiple breakups, or you have friends who have had breakups, so let's put it on the friends. Did all the breakup feel the same way? Hurt the same way? No. There was a breakup where you had already moved on even before the official breakup happened. And there was a breakup that after that 3 relationships happened, but still I'm struggling at 2 a.m. thinking about this person who's 3 breakups away. Why? What does that mean? Logical solutions don't work. Human beings are emotional creatures. And the point of emotional support lies, the understanding of emotional support lies in those 2 words itself. Emotional support. You are providing support to the emotional element of that person. And when we are talking about emotion, we are essentially referring to pain. And when we are referring to feelings, these are the individual components that make up this pain. Okay, I will share the recording with you guys, so you can revisit and munch on this thought a bit more. Right? What did I just share? Emotion, the emotional state that is happening is the pain, is symbolizing the pain for the person, and the individual feelings, like what you just said, betrayed. Sachin, he was feeling betrayed. How many of you sensed that? Right? But do you see that betrayal as a word did not even come up once? This is what is lacking in our listening. This component. That majority of us, unfortunately, when we listen to people, we tend to be focused on these other components, which include factual information. When someone starts talking to us, I had a bad day, and we start asking them, what happened? Tell me details. Or we check for meaning of what the person is saying. Is it really that bad? Or do you need to try harder? This is the perspective questioning we do. Or we focus on the emotional state, like we respond to the emotional state. The person is in pain and we are like, oh, mera beta, and we go and hug him. Poor you, you're in so much pain, and I'm hating that you're in pain. Let me hug you. Like a protective approach as well. Do you see, these are all different ways you can respond to pain. The one thing that majority of us end up lacking is taking that next step, which is delving into the feelings of the person. And when we are referring to active listening, it's not just active listening we are referring to here. This is active supportive listening. It's a bit more nuanced approach where we are able to go beyond the facts, thoughts, and the emotional state of the person and reach their feelings. And for this, language of feelings needs to be employed. Okay, I'm just going to rest it there and address Maliha and Naveed. Maliha.
No, actually, I just raised the hand because when you asked how many of you felt betrayed.
Okay, cheers. Thank you.
Yeah.
Naveed.
Thanks, Sachin. So, honestly, like I don't have experience with suicide prevention helplines. So my experience with this listening is not at the extent when the people are already at an edge. So, in my experience, it's also difficult for people to even describe what they are feeling and why, because
exactly.
I mean, most of the time I try to kind of ask, and I don't know whether it is due to
and you end up sounding like a counselor as well. How many times has your friend told you like, hey, don't be a counselor?
I mean, not really. So I don't talk much in general, so that that did not come, but kind of. So, but yeah, I mean, mostly. So it's like so initially. Sometimes we just start discussing about one topic, and slowly lot of other things that come into play, and that kind of like opens up, which kind of brings us to this
but
the
now do
idea
you
of
see
like
when you're talking about this
multifactorial.
opening up and everything, right?
Right.
We are
Yeah.
not really pointing at anything here. This is where,
Exactly.
for example, our 40-hour training, this is where it comes up, where
Right.
we first focus on what is it that you're listening to. Do you even know what you are actually listening to? Right?
No.
Because, and just to give you an idea about this, I'm gonna just switch off my video and you're gonna hear something. Okay, and tell me what do you understand by this. I'm gonna say, I'm sorry. Okay, you guys heard that? What did you guys understand? What is happening?
Like somebody is given up on something.
So this person is just sorry and is probably giving up. Anyone, any other thought? Okay, fair. So majority thinks that. Now hear this one. I'm sorry. What did you get now?
It's kind of a regret, mixed voice.
Sachin, this sounded Sachika sorry.
No. I mean the situational, like where he feels responsible for something.
Okay. So did you get some difference you observed? Okay. And now hear this one. I'm sorry.
It sounded like you didn't hear something, that's why you said it.
Yeah, I'm asking you to repeat, or was it even a threat? एक और बार बोल के बता. I'm sorry.
To me, it sounded like a threat. I don't
Oh, great. And now tell me, how many words did I use each time?
Same 3 words.
I used 3 words. But how many messages did you get?
3 again.
3
different.
Right? There were others. Yeah. Someone was hearing threat. Someone was hearing mistake. Someone, right? So tell me again, what were you listening to?
Tone.
The tone.
Right? Now, more often than not, we tend to be focused. If we are focused on those words, do you see? Even with 3 words, I can communicate such a spectrum of information. The unfortunate bit is when we see this process happening, we get overwhelmed with that. How many of you are uncomfortable if a person is crying when they're speaking with you? Right? How many of you find it uncomfortable if the person is angry in front of you? Right? If they're giving bad words or something. Right. So how do you want the person to be when they're contacting you? So when they are at their pain, when their pain is at what level? Beyond the fear.
Yeah.
How would you prefer them to be? Because that is
coherent.
Coherent. Right. Now, when the last time when you were experiencing a pain of 9 or 10 or 8 out of 10, how coherent were you? Do you see this expectation here? And all the things before I talked about how you want to help the person in all these multiple different ways, giving hope and all these things. It's these things that you are doing that come in the way of listening. Did that make sense?
Yes.
So
it's all the need inside you to want to help that is actually coming in the way of help, which is actually coming in the way of pain alleviation, because we get distracted. We are trying to distract the person. No, you got distracted by that person's pain. You are right now only projecting by saying, I will distract this person. You are trying to distract yourself from that pain. I find it uncomfortable when the person in front of me is in pain. So the essence of active listening or of supportive listening as well is being able to see when a person is in pain. Are you able to hold the space even in that person's most ugliest moment? Because this is what it tends to be when a person is in pain or in a high degree of pain, right? It's not pretty.
Very true.
It's not kosher. It's not logical. It's not rational. It is not clean. It can be very dirty. How many of us may be thinking that it can even be criminal? So you see all these fears the person already has, who's dealing with that pain. And the only thing that works as a first aid to help the person release some of this pain is through active listening, where we are essentially helping the person be. And this can be defined into some simple terms. That would be, we have to be able to witness that person's pain and hold that space for them while they are in that discomfort. Knowing very well that there is absolutely nothing that you can do that can take that pain away. This is the discomfort you will need to find comfort, or you will need to find peace in. Because it is your discomfort that will take you away from listening. Is that making sense?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the aim, so what each one of you is already a good listener. The point is, what is stopping you from being that? Being able to offer that at will. It is your biases, your values, your issues, your thought processes, you. And the aim is for us to be able to break this down. What are we doing? Trying to focus when we are listening to someone. Okay, there is all these different types of information I told you that exist: facts, thoughts, or opinions, their emotional state, and their feelings. We have to be able to identify not look at this and label it as like, oh, this is a factual listener, but be able to see that this is a skill set that you are good at. You're really good at collecting information. Do you think that can be a useful skill, let's say, for a detective? If they're really good at taking information from a conversation, right? What about, think about a judge. If they are really good at the thoughts and opinions, they are able to really gather the meaning of what is being said. Would that be a very helpful quality for them to be able to critically see? When I say critical, I'm not meaning criticizing. Critical, being able to objectively see. That's a very important quality for a judge. Right? Similarly, for a protective parent, if you are someone who wants to help your kid, being able to sense that child's pain. Now, this may make it more resonating for you. Imagine a child coming to you and they are crying. What do? You give a hug? Well, you're just holding that space. Do you see? There is absolutely no magical ointment that happened when you gave the child a hug. But that space experience that they have from them, that gives them the opportunity to release this pent up, this piled up emotion. And it gives them an opportunity to release it. It is only after some of this release that the person can even be coherent. Let's put it that way. For you to even start making sense of it, some of it needs to dissipate. And for that, most important thing, being able to hold that space. Now, you have to identify here, what are the things that you are not comfortable with? Sachin, I'm not comfortable if the person is going to cry or give bad words or any other way they may express pain. You can strategize on this. And specific skill sets can be worked on as well. Witnessing the pain. Second part, delving deeper. Now, we are referring to as psychological pain we are talking about here, okay? Second part is explore that pain and reach the constituent feelings. And that is when empathy begins. Only when you reach the feelings of the person. The person is feeling bad is not a feeling. The person is feeling terrible is not a feeling. The person is feeling betrayal. Yes, this is a feeling. Right? Why? There is absolutely no way that you can artificially create that situation, what the person is going through, right? But tell me this, Neerja and everyone, do you know the feeling of betrayal?
Yes.
Have you ever felt that things were unfair, that you didn't get what you deserved? You were robbed of it. Right?
Yes.
So now this is what you're connecting with. You're not having to connect with what happened to that person or their life. They had a breakup, you had never had a relationship, you're a nun. You can still empathize. Only and only if you're able to take that next step of exploring the feelings so that they get ventilation of those feelings as well. And this is the basic principle on which the suicide prevention helplines like Samaritans, Roshni, Sneha, Saath work on, where we offer confidential, anonymous, non-judgmental listening, where we do not offer solution or even hope, because we don't know what is going to happen. We do not try to play God. But what we do, and this is best mentioned by Reverend Chad Barra. He's the founder of Samaritans and Befrienders as well, I believe. So Samaritans started back in 1961, that's Suicide Prevention Helpline, and it's a movement, worldwide movement. And so this is him expressing, as a Samaritan volunteer, it's not about helping the person come out of the suffering that we do, but we suffer with them. Right? All the icky, disturbing, painful, disgusting things that they're ashamed of, we let them be that. Let them share that with us without judging them for it, without labeling them for it. And then still have the mind space to go beyond it and then it be able to explore their feelings. Because starting when I'm saying, oh, my father passed away, you're like, how are you feeling? I'll slap you. Because guess what? You didn't listen. I wasn't sharing my feelings here. I was telling you I'm in pain. I didn't tell you what I'm feeling here. Right? So being able to sense, oh, wow, that I'm so sorry to hear that, right? But would you like to talk about this? I can't imagine how big a loss this must be for you. Would you want to share? I can be here with you for some time. This is the all those of us who are kind of hating on sympathy. What I just did here, this was sympathy in action. So please try to remove pity. Pity is one of the extreme versions of this, what I just did. Where if I had mentioned all of these things in this way, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Tough, life stuff, man. Jeez. Right. You kind of hated me for that, right? Possibly. You have to understand the content of what I just said here did not change. It is the emotional engagement that was lacking here. That is when you witness the pain. There is an emotional engagement with the person. But then after that, the curiosity towards the feelings, exploration, and acknowledgement of the feelings. That is the essence of empathy. And that is what helps in the alleviation of psychological distress, including thoughts of suicide. I'm not saying that it stops. This is a stopgap measure as well. Again, this is not a replacement for therapy. This is possibly the first step of therapy in terms of building rapport. Like any psych students, you have all got and heard and read that building rapport is the most important part of therapy. But if I were to ask you guys how much time have you spent on building rapport? The answer is not that clear, right? So what we work on, and especially the training that we have got coming up called Dot Listening in May, this is where we will be focusing on identifying what we are supposed to be listening to when we are listening to it, identify the skills and the values and the emotional response. For example, we don't just look at it, look at empathy and sympathy, but we also will be looking at antipathy and apathy, because all of these will be forming the core structure of how listening can be broken down. So with that, I would like to welcome you all to attend that as well. However, that was the talk from me. I know I've overshot the time as usual, but any questions, feel free to ask, or any thoughts you would like to share. Would love to hear.
Sachin, when you say processing, you mean through therapy, resolving it?
See, I mean, honestly speaking, like, if you have connections in your life that you can actually use to be as vulnerable and honest and take help from them. If see, it's all these hangups that stop us from taking help from our fellow human being. So a therapist acts as a professional who can guide us through that. So when I'm talking about processing is being able to understand what your past is, what your traumas are, what your feelings are, being able to have a meaningful relationship with those feelings. See, for example, Neerja, remember betrayal? It was used as an example. Now imagine if I have an issue with betrayal. If I don't have a good relationship with betrayal, that I'm carrying this sense of betrayal in me. Now, if outside as well I sense betrayal by someone, or someone is causing it or is facing it, it creates an emotional reaction in me. So this self-processing becomes the first step. It's not just self-awareness. You will need to sit with your own feelings, because if you can't sit with your own feelings, you cannot sit with someone else's. Right?
Okay.
So listening, as simple as an act it is, it's very much more complicated because of how we have made our life complicated. But we hope through the training, we are able to get down to the brass tacks of it and help you guys manage it. Thank you, Angelico. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? I'll be the last one to leave. So if anyone wants to share, ask me a question on a personal level in the chat, you feel free to do that as well.
Sachin,
So
what should Rashmi, sorry. What should Rashmi have said? I'm sorry.
Okay.
We are having a Lucknow moment.
I know.
All right, let's go with Sneha. I'll make an executive decision. Sneha.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to know, so in the upcoming May training, we will be trained with this actionable.
Yes. The training will focus on, so our training has these 4 core components, where we first look at some level of theory. So some base foundation we'll have to create. So something like we did today. So these discussions are a very important part. So we try to establish what are the words that we are using. When we understand what these things are, then we look at insight building through thought exercises, examples, analogies, role plays. We use these to build insight. Oh, this is what it means, right? This is the meta of it. But then we have to engage in practice.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Right. Yeah. So once insight development happens, then we have to show them how it can be applied in life. So the behavioral aspects of the training, of normally, if you have ever been to an active listening training, you will know the summarize, clarify. You have heard of these things, right? Open-ended questions and things like that. If you've gone to an active listening training, this tends to be the essence of it. But this is the last component that we take up. This is the behavioral component. We believe that if there is issues in the values, biases, and on a cognitive and mental level, behavior, how will you manage behavior?
Yeah, so you were saying that first of all, we have to clean ourselves and be calm for that particular situation.
Yes.
We total calm, where we are just available without any preconceived ideas or anything. So we are totally like purely calm and available for that other person. So one situation.
Do you see how hard it is?
Yes.
What if I come and call up and say that my mother is a bitch, I want to kill her?
Yeah, because
can the person say this to you?
So even if you're saying anything, even if that doesn't affect me, still I have to be practice enough to not to panic in that situation. Be 100%
So
calm.
do you see? And in the training, we will be seeing that this is not panic you're experiencing. You are being overwhelmed. This is your emotional state that got impacted. And now you are able to focus on that aspect and strategize how I can make this part stronger.
Okay.
Right. So it is essentially the best therapy is exposure therapy, right? So you will have to be able to expose yourself. Okay, I have understood that crying, people if they are crying or bawling, I get tongue tied. Guess what? You will have to practice.
That is very, yeah, for me, like I am always scared of seeing blood. So I didn't, I give PMT exam, but in my heart of heart, I knew I will never go for medical this thing. So I like being in the hospital is like no for me.
Yeah.
So that was the reason. So you really have to work hard and I think practice enough
Right.
to overcome all your fears first and be available for other person.
Yes. And
Got it.
and those fears will not go away until and unless you address them. So practically 60% of our training time is focused on self-awareness. So it is about identifying skill sets, components, things that I'm good at, and things that I need to work on. This is what we are essentially trying to identify. And this will be provided in a framework. So it's not something that you have to, try hard to remember. It's already kind of present in front of you. You will be judging yourself as to how effective is this part of mine. If it is not, we need to look at exercises that will fix that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for that, those exercises and exposure. Thank you.
Thank you.